Hello, and thank you so much for joining me for the ROH and TNA Post Show for April 25th. Thank you guys so much for being here with me as we get back into business for our ROH and TNA Post Show. There are a couple of changes that have taken place over the past couple of weeks. First of all, Joel was off for personal reasons the past couple of weeks. Stuff that he's been public about that's not mine to speak to. So they are back in action on the back end of this show. Very much looking forward to getting back into business there. We're very happy to have him back. We missed him while he was gone. Fightful's not the same without that fella. So very, very happy to have Joel back and to have this show back. It was very kind of nice in some respects, but very weird having my Thursday nights free the past couple weeks. The other thing is that Reg is not a part of the ROH Post Show part of this anymore. He's decided to move on to other things. So I'm going solo tonight. We'll see what's coming up. I'm sure I'll coordinate with Sean. There's a lot of big fish to fry in the world right now, both regarding wrestling and Fightful, and far beyond that with way more important stuff going on with him. So we will let you know a plan of action. It's my understanding that the show is going to continue, which is good. I'm happy to do it. I'm happy to be here. Even if it's not the clearest direction of the product, I'd love reviewing any type of wrestling that we can throw your way. So Reg won't be a part of it moving forward. Let me know in the chat. Let me know in the comments if there's anybody that you want to see. I know SP3 is always a ton of fun. We've had Kimmy Sokol on. We've had Kyle Sparks on. There's plenty of incredible creators. So if there's anybody that you want to see, feel free to let me know. I don't know if it's immediately going to be like me and a co-host, or if it's going to be me and rotating people in and out for a little bit, or what that's going to look like. To be completely upfront, this is a very expensive show for us to do. There's 4 hosts, and because of the nature of both of the shows, it's not the highest chatted show that we get. So we will do our best to move forward in the best way possible. But we are going to keep this train on the tracks. Thank you guys in the chat. I see you, Taylor. I see you, Matthew Hooks. I see you, Jim. So that's kind of where things are at. Thank you for your patience over the past couple of weeks. I know that we are normally incredibly consistent with the way that our reviews go, and that has not been the case the past couple of weeks. Killing it on my own so far. So I appreciate you guys so much. And that is kind of all we need to catch you up on. But we will also remind you to get in your super chats. No humper chats tonight, just super chats if you'd be so kind. And to please leave a thumbs up on this video. It's important with every show and helping people find us in the algorithm, but no show more than this one, because these are 2 like underdog brands in a sense. So if you could leave a thumbs up on this video, that is extremely helpful to us. We're going to dive in just a second. But before we do, I wanted to say thank you so much for 15,000 subscribers on Fightful Select. You guys are absolutely amazing. We're the first Patreon to ever do it. It's a really proud moment for everyone on Fightful, especially Sean and Corey. Because it's really built on the back of their scoops. I joke all the time. I'm very proud of the hard work that I do, but I always say that like I came in at the right time, and I'm really just riding the coattails of people that work harder than me and are better at this than me. So always very thankful to have a home at Fightful. Very, very proud of the work that gets done on Fightful Select, not only with the podcast that I get to be on, but of the work that goes up there, the integrity that it's reported with. We'd encourage you to subscribe if you haven't already. Not all of those 15,000 subscribers are at the $5 tier. Some enjoy the benefits of the $10 tier, and some are on our free tier. So when we have stories that are sensitive in some way, right, whether it's about injuries, releases, the sex trafficking investigation, or anything of the sexual misconduct nature, that goes on the free tier, because there's some stuff that just feels kind of icky to paywall. You also get access to the headlines of what is on the free tier, or on the pay tier rather. So you can kind of check out and see for yourself, like, oh, I'm interested in that story. Maybe I will go subscribe, or at least you get kind of a taste of what's going on behind the paywall. You guys shout out Alba, who was great, not only on the Dynamite review yesterday, but also on the Hump with Jimmy Van. Him jumping in at the last minute, we're so appreciative of. So Thank you to John Alba for that. I don't know if he's up on the ROH product. I'll find out, though. He would be a fun one to have, even just on a guest rotation. A lot of people shouting out SP3. We always have a blast with him. So yeah, we'll keep those names in mind. We had Kimmy Sokol on the NXT review, but she's an ROH girl at heart. We always have similar gusto for the product. So very, very happy. But let's dive in. This is my first time on in 3 weeks. I'm a little frustrated because I feel like some bad habits are starting to creep back into this product, but we are still building storylines. I just felt like last time we were building storylines, some really important ones got abandoned right before the pay-per-view. So I'm hoping we get payoffs. Now, some of those, I don't know where Ethan Page is, but like the story over the boys, obviously they were released, right? So like there are reasons some of those stories got abandoned. It wasn't just like errant creative. So I understand that there are other circumstances that things might not get carried through on, but there are some things that are in their control that they are not taking advantage of, right? Some basic stuff that we were getting away from of roster separation, your favorite lucha versus whoever for no stakes, not having champions around. We are starting to see those things creep back into the product, and that's frustrating. We also, while we had a lot of women's matches tonight, a lot of them were squash-ish vein. A lot of them were under 5 minutes. So not my favorite thing to see there, but that's a very weak specific complaint. Like normally the women's matches are, even if not overpowering, the men's lengths of time. So that's just for this week that I have a complaint about that. Really, overall, women's wrestling is alive and well on the ROH product, and still some good progression even with those shorter matches. So we will dive in right now. Kicking off and starting with one of my key complaints is who's on what roster and what division do they fight in. But we start with Isiah Kennedy and Komander. And this ends with a low blow into a twist of fate neck breaker. I don't really know what happened on this. I'm a little worried that Komander might be injured because he was favoring his shoulder, his left shoulder, I think it was, pretty heavily. And knowing what these two are both capable of, it really felt like they were going slower than they were capable of. Sometimes people just don't have chemistry. Sometimes really great wrestlers just don't have chemistry with each other. I always look at, I think it was Asuka and Rhea Ripley was like one of my, or was it? Yeah, I think it was Asuka and Rhea Ripley where that was set up for WrestleMania, and I was looking forward to that match as much as anything on the card, and it just never really clicked in. And then it happened a second time, and it never really clicked in. And the third time was awesome. But sometimes wrestlers just, for whatever reason, don't have great chemistry. That could have been the case here, but it did look to me like Komander was favoring his shoulder. So hope he's not injured. We've had a lot of luchadors in and out with injuries. Hope he's okay. But the match was decent enough, just knowing what they can both do. Felt like they were moving a little differently or selling themselves short in some way. Felt like they were selling themselves short in some way. We appreciate you guys. We appreciate donations like this. Thank you so much. If you had a message that you wanted to send with that, feel free to regular chat it. But if not, we'll just take your money. We appreciate that. Get in those super chats if you could. Support our little engine that could show. We always appreciate it. So I don't know what you guys thought of the opener, but it just felt like it was a little bit off to me, knowing what these guys are capable of, for sure. Knowing what these guys are capable of. But we move into a match that I really, really liked, which was Top Flight and Action Andretti defeating the Dark Order. This was a blast. We get a promo before this from Bullet Club Gold. So even if our champions aren't around, at least they were present on the show in a way. They talk about unifying the AEW and the ROH 6-man titles, which is good. And Jay White says they're running out of space for all the gold, but Colton Gunn and the Bang Bang Gang run the 6-man stuff. And if you're not down with that, guns up. We knew who was going to win this one because we know that we have Top Flights on the main roster and ready to go to challenge for these. And the Dark Order just, quite frankly, hasn't been getting used at all. Like, it's so weird. They felt so like in a spot where they were in a really good place initially when you had the Dark Order, who re-signed last year. So it's not like a contract thing, I don't think. But when you had them versus the Righteous for the custody of Stu Grayson, it felt so, at that point, like the only story that had any direction on the show. And it was a really well built out feud. I understand that Stu is no longer with the company, but they just stopped trying with the Dark Order and haven't given them anything outside of being Adam Page's buddy in years, it feels like, outside of that story. So that's a little frustrating and kind of tipped the hand of this match. But the match itself was great. It's never a problem with the in-ring on the show. I loved Andretti getting tagged in with that spinning heel kick to everyone. That was kind of a fun spot that you don't see a lot, a spinning heel kick taking out 3 guys. A little low on the believability, but like I kind of just dug it anyway. And I think that was really, really fun. But ultimately you have Andretti with the pump handle slam to Reynolds for the win. And so that sets up Top Flight versus Bullet Club Gold, which I think will be a hell of a match. And I'm excited for that. I'm very, very ready for a new era of these 6-man titles. Both for ROH because they haven't been around, and for the main roster because it just felt like this Acclaimed stuff was not a healthy run for the product, and they won them last August. If I can't tell you any defenses that are really memorable outside of TMDK, because I'm a TMDK mark and I got to see it live, that's not good. Like, that's not good. I think they had a defense against Top Flight, and that was pretty decent, but I really can't remember much else. I'm a big proponent of let Max Caster go on a singles run away from Bowens and let Bowens go on a singles run into what'll hopefully be another Continental Classic. Let him be a baby face. I think he's awesome. I think the world of Bowens, and I just think Max Caster needs to figure out what an appropriate line is for what his gimmick is. And he has some work to do on getting better in the ring as well. Like, it feels to me like Bowens is the worker and Caster has some work to do. So, and Bowens has only been in a tag in a trio since you guys have seen him on television, at least. But if you followed him on the indies, you know he is more than capable of cutting his own promo, for sure. For sure. So we move along to Anna Jay versus Allysin Kay, and it took me way too long to think about how their names are JK, and that made me gleefully excited as someone who loves puns over here. Like, that is my wheelhouse. But nice to see Allysin Kay back in action. I feel like she offers something so different on ROH and in women's wrestling in general. I'm a big fan of the Hacks. I would love to see them around more. I would love to see women's tag belts floating across AEW and ROH, possibly New Japan Strong, have world tag belts. It just makes sense. Nobody on American television can book women's tag wrestling appropriately. Sometimes TNA does all right. But this singles match was decent. This is Anna Jay's 3rd win, and she catches Allysin Kay with the Queen Sleeper Slayer, which is great. Allysin Kay did a great job selling for Anna, I thought, in this. And the tap out looks really good. Nice to see Anna Jay getting reps. There's a lot of wrestlers, and I find Anna Jay to be one of them, that consistent reps really affects the ability of how they are able to wrestle on TV. Like Anna, when she gets a couple in a row, you could just immediately tell she starts to feel more comfortable. She's doing a really good job here adapting the way she works in the ring to feel heelish, which I really appreciated. Sometimes it just felt like, other than her attitude, her mannerisms weren't really there to catch up. So I liked seeing that out of her as well. Kind of had some sneaky little tricks here, like her kicking out Allysin Kay's knee, and when she was going to the tie up there. I thought that was a good adaptation of working heel in the actual ring versus just adapting your heel persona. So some really, really good stuff there. So that was fun. It was like a 4-minute match. There's not a ton to say. I just like seeing Allysin Kay on my screen a lot. And I hope we get to see more of her and Marty Bell, for that matter, around. Women's wrestling thriving all over the place. It's really nice to see, but definitely on Thursdays between what happens on ROH and what happens in TNA. So some very good stuff there. Thank you guys so much for the extra support. Ricardo saying congrats to Mark Briscoe on baby number 8. My goodness, that is a lot of babies. I can barely handle myself. I can't imagine having 8 kids. But happy for him. Happy, healthy baby after everything they've been through, especially. Always nice to have new life around. Always a really nice energy set when you get to bring someone new into the world, for sure. I really appreciated Mark's singles work over the past year and a half or so, especially from the C2 till now, because it feels like his character arc was so alive from that point on, and you really get to see your ROH champion like have this really unique thing of being what feels like an underdog baby face matched with like this brawlery, dirty aesthetic and this badass moveset. And I just think that's such a unique combination of things. Like you don't see all of those things a lot. You see that with like a Sami Zayn or whatever. And not to say other guys don't lay their stuff in, but he's kind of like has this gnarly way about him in the ring. And to see the way he builds empathy in the ring as a face, I just think the world of him. I just think the world of him. Jester Designs, a 29-month member here on YouTube. Thank you so much for the support, saying, so glad to be in the era of the fallen goddess Athena. May she reign 100 days more. Hope to chat it up more in the Fightful Discord. Kate, yeah, I need to get my butt back in there because Twitter is disgusting and our Discord rules, but I do this with Discord all the time. I'm a part of a couple of them, and I'll be active for like 3 days, and then I just won't like participate. I just like forget to log in or whatever. So if you aren't a part of the Fightful Select Discord, I would recommend being so. It's a controlled community, and everything is well organized in there by promotion and channel. It makes the conversations very organized. You can also something I put over on Fightful Select in general that is also in the Discord is just the Ask SRS feature. His Q&A show, I think, is one of the most valuable resources in the industry. I say it all the time. And then in the Discord channel, if you're like, I was wondering about this thing, you could just pop it in there. And if Sean is able to, he'll get you an answer for it, which is kind of nice because rather than submitting before the show, you just have it available right there. So some good stuff on FightfulSelect.com for you. Best $5 in the business. Let me know what you guys thought of tonight's episode on ROH. I did not love yesterday's episode of AEW Dynamite, and everybody else did. I loved the ending, but I also feel like I didn't really like tonight's episode of ROH all that much, and I felt like a lot of other people did, so I was like, maybe I'm just cranky. Like, maybe I'm just a little burnt out on wrestling right now or something. Like, maybe it's a Kate problem, because normally I'm not so cranky about wrestling in general, but here I was a little bit. NFL draft is also going on, so if the Steelers make any boneheaded moves, let me know. Or if they make any really good moves, let me know that as well. But we are going to move along in our episode of ROH here. We get a promo from Athena, Billie Starkz, and Lexy Nair, who host an emergency minion empowerment meeting, a MEM, as they called it, which I really loved. Athena basically just says that after their brawl with Queen Amanada and Red Velvet at Battle of the Belts, they were going to offer a scholarship to an ass whooping to Velvet and Amanada, which was very fun. Excuse me here as I plug in my charger. Boy, oh boy, am I ready to get back into my studio. I've got so much new stuff to set up. This was a great little promo. We got a return one later in the episode too from Queen Amanada and Red Velvet. And I love this combo of Queen Amanada and Red Velvet. Like, Queen Amanada has so much presence that making her someone's heavy doesn't really feel like the move, because being someone's heavy has this kind of connotation of like, well, they can't talk and they're not a great worker, but they're really big and they have a presence about them. She's the complete package. But I think there's still a lot of value of creating a pairing with someone where it's not like you're just this person who lurks in the background and is a bruiser. Like, she can be the complete package and also paired with Red Velvet, and they can have an alliance that I think can be really beneficial for both of them moving forward. I like seeing alliances forming. I hope it's symptomatic of a tag division or more tag programs. Great way to get a lot of women on TV, because that whole division got used for the tournament. Like, that's why when it was Shida versus Athena, I was kind of bummed, because I was like, oh, they just sent someone down from the main roster. But it was someone that they teased this match with before over and over again. And the rest of the division was in the tournament. So I can't be like, well, you're not using one of your own. It's a fair thing. It's a fair thing there. But a fun little vignette here. I love that we're continuing with Mem. They've got all the golds in Minion World. Athena surpassing the 500-day mark, which is awesome. Congratulations to her as champion. I really want her to move up to the main roster just like everybody else, but right now I will happily settle for her getting main roster opportunities like she did for Battle of the Belts, because she needs to get called up with great intentionality if she's going to lose this belt. They need to have an opening for her, and they need to have it be at the top of the card, because she has done too much work and she's too damn good not to be at the top of the card on the main roster the second she goes up. So I would rather them hold off on that and bring her up in a spot that is called for in a cool way. I do think more opportunities on the main roster on pay-per-views, Battle of the Belts, things like that, champion versus champion where neither title is on the line kind of stuff would be beneficial. But I also recognize, one, she faced Willow Nightingale a million times already. And so Athena versus Toni Storm would have to take a lot of creative to get there. So we'll see. We'll see how things shake out, but very happy to have her here. I always put this over, and it's because I truly feel like it's important, and I truly feel like it matters. It matters to me. When Ian Riccaboni, and now Nigel McGuinness has done it as well, talk about Athena's title reign, they speak about it with the same reverence as other ROH title reigns that have been of this length. Ian specifically has called out Nigel McGuinness, Bryan Danielson, Samoa Joe. And it means a lot to me that a women's wrestler's name is in the same breath as that caliber of talent, of that high regard, of that high respect. So I'm glad they continue to do that. But congratulations to her. I've said it on here multiple times, and I'll say it again because I think it bears repeating as well. Not trying to retread, but the fact that she won Women's Wrestler of the Year from the ROH spot tells you everything you need to know, because this show was not a priority. It's just not a priority in AEW, and it's also paywalled, so not as many people watch it, and they still know she was in-ring Women's Wrestler of the Year. So good on her. Makes me very happy. But I'll tell you what doesn't make me happy, and that's this TV couple, okay? This Johnny TV and Taya Valkyrie running around. Johnny TV. This is his comeback match. He had to rehab his abs, they say. Not his ribs, but his abs, which absolutely killed me. I loved that. And he faces Will Austin. This was fun. He busted out some stuff that he doesn't normally do, I felt like, in this. Like, there was a little bit more MMA focused. But he ultimately wins with the Starship Pain off of the distraction. Taya jumped up onto the apron to cause it. And we did get like a nice surprise crossbody from Will Austin in this, but not a match for the picture perfect Starship Pain that we got. A good match. I feel like Dream Beast saying ROH, great wrestling, but superfluous booking. You know, it's not even just like, I guess it is superfluous in a way, but it just feels like main roster's leftovers booking. Like Isiah Kassidy being on this makes no sense. Where is the pure division? We're going to talk about some good stuff that happened with like Josh Woods and Arya Davari in that group. Because I like where they're going with Mark Sterling in this triumvirate. But like, if you used to watch ROH and you watch it now, you went from the most logical American presentation of wrestling to the least logical. And it's because it feels like there's just leftovers. It used to be you declared a division and then you worked in that division until you got a title shot. So if I wanted the Pure title, I worked through the Pure division. If I wanted the TV title, I worked in the TV division. And now it's just like, oh, Orange Cassidy didn't do anything. Well, he's a fan favorite. Send him out there. Like, that's not good. There has been more cohesion the past few months. That felt like it got uprooted at the pay-per-view. We are getting some storylines building coming out of that pay-per-view. But overall, like, who is on your roster? What divisions are they in? Why do luchadors only get thrown in for, like, do some crazy shit matches? It's getting obnoxious. Like, it's getting obnoxious to see those old habits creeping back in. Because the talent deserves better. I care about me as someone that reviews the show because I don't want to come on here and say the same things every week. I don't think that's providing any value to you guys, right? But it's more that the talent deserve to be spotlighted in a way that is fair and favorable. To me, what I loved about what was going on with Ethan Page, other than the fact that I think he's a hell of a wrestler, was it felt like he was somebody that was really taking pride. Like, really taking pride in Ring of Honor, in the TV title story that he was in. The way he talked with, like, such reverence about ROH and how important it is to be the guy on whatever brand you're on and to make that your goal after Final Battle, I thought was really, really important and sincere. And it felt kind of like he was the only one in the men's singles division that was really doing that. And now I don't know where the hell he is. I don't know if his contract's up. I don't know if he's working through personal stuff or an injury or what. I have no idea where he is. But it ain't on my TV and there's not an explanation. And that sucks. That sucks. Let's move along. We get a match that I know whether Big E saw it or not, he is smiling ear to ear. Okay. Cause this was the meatiest meat match that ever meated. Because there were 6 of them. And they were all enormous dudes. You have the Mogul Embassy, Brian Cage, Kaun, and Toa Leona, versus Manders and Beef Tank, which is a wrestler named Beef, and Calvin Tankman making his ROH debut. Calvin Tankman, a fantastic wrestler, did some really great work in MLW, did some great work in GCW and on the Indies. Very cool to see him getting his ROH debut in this. You have the Mogul Embassy winning with the triple power bomb, but this was a blast because I feel like the Mogul Embassy, really big dudes, the Machine, right? Like, and it's guys with very serious personas and they're there to kick ass. So smooth in the ring, and not nearly enough credit is Kaun. Like, extremely smooth with everything he does. Manders and Beef Tank had a ton of personality too to offset this, especially Beef. You saw it come through a lot, and it was just fun to have that contrast in this. Every match on this card, I could have told you who was winning it from just looking at the card, right? So that's a challenge that they need to figure out how to address, because if that happens with some matches, that's kind of inevitable. Sometimes predictable is good when it's the logical booking decision. When every match is that way, it's a significantly less suspenseful or exciting product to watch. I don't know if they're ever going to address the fact that the Mogul Embassy and Swerve aren't together. I feel like we never got any resolution other than the fact, like, he's a face now, so he doesn't mess with those guys. I don't know if they're going to come back for him, like, still leaving the window open for that, right? But he kind of was like, I'm taking Nana and leaving the rest of you. Like, you are no longer my moguls. You could go away. And also Prince Nana didn't come out with them for this, right? So there's creative loose ends with that. I'm not saying it's an oversight, but it is unresolved. Again, are they a trio? Which program are they on? Is Brian Cage a singles wrestler and they are tag wrestlers? Like, the clarity of which division they're on and which show they're in is not something I should have to perpetually ask, especially about former 6-man champions twice. So, not sure what the deal with that is. However, this match was a whole bunch of fun. I hope you guys liked it as much as I did. I thought this was a very fun meat match. This might have been my match of the night. This was a fun one. This was just a blast. This was just a blast. A lot of big man stuff in it. That was very fun to watch. For sure. We'll move on to something that I was very excited to see and has been a nice reintroduction back into the program. You guys know I'm a big Josh Woods fan. If you've seen this post show before, I've been begging for them to utilize this guy. I think he is so good. The tagline, nickname, moniker, whatever of the Technical Beast is one of the most on the nose things you could say about someone. When you think of Josh Woods, this guy is a technical beast. He is an extremely 4K wrestler, and that he is both of those things. He's incredibly technically sound. He did so much fun work in the pure division, but he also hits like a freaking house, man. Like, that guy hits so hard. So I'm always rooting for that guy, and I am glad to see what we got out of this, which I will tell you about right now. There was a video package that was just for Ariya Daivari. Seems like half the people that they cut, they brought back. So if Tony Khan is too nice to cut people, there are worse things in the world. But, like, let's not make that a habit, like that roller coaster. Because Ariya Daivari was like, oh, there's other people that might be on their way back. I've heard rumblings of. Obviously, Anthony Henry they brought back. So there's like all these. I'm glad. I would so much rather people get to have their jobs. But it's just very funny / odd to me. But we got Ariya Daivari, who is backstage in this video package, and Sterling just says that Daivari has never needed anything, but he has a desire to be the best. Basically just reiterating the fact that Ariya Daivari has the look, he's got the smarts, he's got the in-ring wherewithal, like saying that he is essentially a full package. And then we cut backstage to a promo with Josh Woods, Tony Nese, Ariya Daivari. Much more serious presentation. And I like this for Mark Sterling because as fun as the goofy lawyer stuff is, I think it has a ceiling. And I think it needed some dimension. And we got that here. Sterling says that their attack on the infantry was nothing personal. It was because they were in the line of fire, but said that the infantry was among many in ROH that had opportunities that the premier athletes are owed. What I like about that is it's kind of true. Josh Woods, like, ate up a bunch of wins. Tony Nese was eating up wins before his big loss to Ethan Page. So I kind of like that they leaned into it, but the video package was very slickly produced, looked great, said a lot of really poignant things. This promo was just a very, like, we're the real deal kind of thing. We're coming out here. We're a bunch of badasses. We're going to go out there and get some wins. And if you're in the way of that, tough S, man. Tough S. So, Asian Joe, my Wednesday night co-host at the Mark Order podcast, helps me deal with all of Ryan's songs and bad jokes. I would never sing songs or do bad jokes. Not once. With the WWE CW handshake, TK's ROH. Also, way to keep waving the ROH post show flag, Kate. Yeah, I get and can relate to the temptation to not do this anymore when we've been saying the same things week over week, right? Like I certainly can identify with Reg wanting to prioritize the rest of his time. His podcasting schedule has also picked up quite a bit since we started the show. He's doing a ton of great work with Denise. I'm a sicko, and so I will cover anything that you ask me to. That is why I do this now. Basically do it 6 nights a week. And if there's a pay-per-view, it's every day. But I love it. So I'm going to keep doing it, and I'll find someone to do it with me probably. Or I don't mind doing it solo. I love doing this. I love talking to you guys. So good stuff. Thank you, Joe, for your chat. I appreciate you. And let me tell you, if I did need to take a day off, if Joe wasn't there, it would be Wednesdays because I can't handle. Ryan's got so many bits. He's just alone in his world. No, I'm just kidding. I love Ryan. I love my Mark Order crew. You can check us out at Mark Order Pod. I'm gonna at least overly plug myself if I'm gonna be alone out here today. You can check us out, talking all things All Elite every Wednesday at 10:15 p.m. Eastern. But we move along to Yuka Sakazaki and Leila Gray. Man, I think Yuka got injured again this week, which sucks. She just got back, and I think she injured her leg which is so rough, but she does get the win in this. Gray tried to go for a Sakazaki sunset bomb, but missed the target. And she took control with the big spin, which was a really, really fun sequence in this. But she wins with the slingshot splash. Say that 10 times fast. Leila Gray is very young in wrestling years and years on Earth. She is an incredible talent in that she is one of the most multifaceted people in wrestling, singing, dancing, wrestling, modeling, tons of charisma, tons of upside. I do think she should learn and grow under the AEW umbrella from an in-ring perspective. And I do think she's someone who benefits when she has a more substantive story to sink your teeth into rather than being like the kind of women's wrestler who's going to go out there and like, I'm just going to light it up in the ring. And that's enough to kind of sustain where this needs to go. Like there's some wrestlers who like, I did an episode with Wrestling Brain, and it was all about Bret Hart, and we got to listen to a shoot interview of his, and it was all about like in-ring focus. I know, a huge shock. And there's some wrestlers that like cater to that, and there's some that like in a very American style are better when there's more story behind it. And I just think that's where she's at right now. So. But this was fine. This was another one that was like 3.5 minutes, so it's just not a ton to say about it. But Yuka getting the W kind of feels like they were just getting her on track, man, and then she got injured again, which absolutely blows. Absolutely blows. I hate that. Releases and injuries are the worst part of this piece of what I do. It sucks way more for the people that get released and injured. Let me be extremely clear, but it just sucks. It just sucks. The two hardest things I've ever had to do on air were Jay's passing and Bray's passing. I went on minutes after finding out about Jay's and maybe an hour and a half, I think, after finding out about Bray's. And then beyond that, just releases are always the worst, and injuries just suck, especially when someone returns from injury and then immediately gets re-injured. Like that just, it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking because it's never lost on me how hard this is for wrestlers. Never, ever lost on me that like wrestling is one of the most physically demanding and unnatural things that you can do with your entire body. Like it just is. And they do it to entertain people, honestly. Like it's pretty wild when you think about it. Well, this I don't like. We go backstage. It's Lexy Nair with Griff Garrison and Cole Carter, who are talking about their most recent losses. Griff Garrison saying that his was supposed to be for the title, which I liked him talking about how the stakes of his were a little bit more important than Cole Carter's. Kind of weird to get into like a loser off. Like that felt a little bit odd, but I liked that Griff Garrison was digging into this side of him of having an attachment to what he's doing as far as knowing that it was a big opportunity and he missed out on it. But Maria interrupts and she tells them that every loss is a learning experience. Felt very teachable moment kind of thing. Felt very, what is it, Modern Family? The dad on there, Phil Dunphy, being like, this is a teachable moment. But she said the rest of the locker room would be jealous of their success at some point. And that Kanellis told them they should go for her titles, the ROH World Tag titles. Now, this seems like an inevitable feud, right? You have Griff and Cole. Her husband is Mike Kanellis Bennett, obviously. They hold the titles. We're going to talk about their match in a moment. But I just don't like losing upward. It doesn't work for me. And it definitely doesn't work in ROH. Particularly when it doesn't feel like they've been particularly featured heavily, or that there hasn't been like a trajectory of we were so close either. You know what I mean? Like there wasn't, it wasn't like Daniel Garcia in the Continental Classic where he almost lost out except for the one spoiler win. But like he unlocked something every single time. Like we're not seeing an overarching progression with them. So this creative doesn't work if the stories don't back up what they're saying in that way. But that does bring us to the Undisputed Kingdom versus the Outrunners in a Proving Ground match. I am so sick of Proving Ground matches where not a single person proves their ground, man. This has just been the case over and over and over again. Just don't do a Proving Ground match then. Like, just do a defense if they're going to keep losing. Just have them lose. Like, it just... If nobody ever proves their ground, the stipulation is completely pointless. It's like if you had a steel cage match and the whole thing took place just inside the ring, or there was a lumberjack match, but nobody went to the outside. Like, I don't understand why we're continually doing proving ground matches if nobody ever wins. It takes me out of it. I will say there were a couple spots in this that at least brought the stipulation into play that I thought were really well done from the Outrunners. There was a hot tag from Magnum to Floyd, and we got some scoop body slams. And then all of a sudden it was like pretty close to the 10-minute time limit. And Mike Bennett just immediately started panicking. And so that's when we get Tara finish, which was to the ground, handful of tights for the pin. Lets the heels cheat, puts some urgency behind the 10 minutes. They finally got close to the 10 minutes, at least in a proving ground match. Also loved them going for the boot camp and it failing in this. This kind of keeps the story with the infantry alive. So a lot of work got done in this that I felt like was very productive, and I really liked it. And later, the Outrunners interrupt the infantry, who are giving a promo, which leads to the match between the two of them next week. I'm very excited for that. I'm glad they're continuing the story. I think the infantry really have something special about them. All three of them, by the way. And I really feel like they've settled into something. They've unlocked something. Their match with the Iron Savages was great. They looked good in the tag tournament on the main roster. They're talk about this all the time from like an artistic perspective. To me, in any art form, wrestling included, like the thing that makes you great is finding the unrepeatable magic about you. There's so many archetypes in wrestling, right? But if you find the unrepeatable thing about you, that's where the magic happens. That's when it feels like art. That's when it feels like something original. That doesn't feel like I'm tracing somebody else's work. You could be inspired by someone else's work, but it doesn't feel like I'm a carbon copy. So I really appreciate that. And I feel like they're getting closer and closer and closer to that as time goes on. I don't have a moderator, so please just be nice in the chat. I can't follow what everybody is saying, but it seems like it's getting combative, so let's just chill. I don't have a mod and I'm dyslexic. Please be nice to me. We're moving along here. Guys, get in your super chats. Get in your humper chats. Or don't get in your humper chats. I'm just so used to saying it. I don't have humper chat access, but I do appreciate all the support that you guys are giving us. Again, this is a little weird flying solo without Reg again, but we're making it work. We, of course, have the TNA Post Show coming out on the back end of this. Joel and Cresta back in action. So much going on in TNA world. Broken Matt Hardy returned at the pay-per-view. Nick Nemeth doing great work. Santana showing back up. Mustafa Ali, they're doing like a ballot box match to find out who his next opponent would be. Doing great stuff in the X division. I am so happy for the wind and the sails of TNA as the AEW roster is so full and the WWE roster is so full. TNA getting a nice little like talent bump and the Indies getting a nice little talent bump has been really awesome. So a lot of positive momentum, it feels like, in the TNA product, despite all of the leadership drama that has happened. So nice to see that there. Big pay-per-view, wildly successful this weekend from my understanding. So I am happy for them. Leave a thumbs up on this video if you would. And I'll also just take another minute to remind you to subscribe to FightfulSelect.com. So much information coming up there. WrestleMania news broke the other day. The possibility of them moving WrestleMania to May, which would feel great, but weird. Tons of stuff. More contract news coming up. Finn Balor kind of out scooping us, but ultimately ending up with the scoop. Tony Khan and his neck brace updates on there. And of course, unfortunate news, the injuries and the releases of the past week to 2 weeks are on the free tier as well. So subscribe to FightfulSelect.com. The chat letting me know they're being respectful and they're conversing. I appreciate that. I appreciate good sound back and forth. I just want to make sure everybody's being nice. So we will move along to Taya Valkyrie with Johnny TV out there versus Lady Luck. Lady Luck, a fantastic talent that's been in the independent scene for a while. Very like charming presence about her. I really like Lainey. I think she does some really good work. And I was glad to see her show up here. She loses pretty quickly to the STF from Taya. I love that Taya and Johnny both come out for each other's matches. Like, it's not just the gal veiling the dude or vice versa. It's kind of, you see it on the AEW main roster with Julia and Brody. Like, I love that relationship. And especially because they had like the Johnny Loves Taya show that just wrapped up, like the idea that they're always in each other's shit, I just think is very, very fun. So I appreciate that about them for sure. So nice to see that even this is kind of more similar to the work that they were doing in Lucha Underground, which I didn't watch like fully, but I did see enough of to know that they had the personalities for these kind of more larger than life characters that we're getting out of them. And I love it. I loved the feud with Dalton. I know the boys being released really affected kind of the blow off, but I thought it was a bunch of fun. I love what we're getting out of them. I also think this is the best Taya has worked in a bit, probably since coming over to AEW, arguably since post NXT release. Like, I think she's doing a lot of really good work. She's worked really hard on her conditioning. It shows up. She looks great. I think she's always looked great, but you can just tell like the movement just feels a little bit more effortless with her. And it's awesome to see. It's awesome to see. So happy that she continues to be a pillar in this women's division. Excited for her eventual title challenges because it feels like they've got to be on the way soon for sure. Taya Valkyrie TV, I mean, it writes itself. So some good stuff there, but quick work. A lot of quick matches on the ladies' side today, which again, normally I'd complain more, but we get a lot of really great women's wrestling with some real match times in this. Lance Archer and the Righteous, Vincent and Dutch, defeating John Cruz, GPA, and Ren Jones. Again, a consistent thing that I had an issue with throughout this episode was it was just so inevitable who was winning all of these matches, right? But I want this trio to be a trio, and I want them to go for the belts. I don't know if I want them to go for the belts immediately because I actually think it would be extremely interesting if Lance Archer and the Righteous, and they should also just, the three of them should be called the Righteous, but I think it would be really interesting if they were the ones to dethrone Bullet Club Gold. I think they could get made by that, and I think that should be a few months down the line. But I do think that Lance Archer has done some fantastic work in this company. He's never really put on a track. I do feel like part of that is probably because he does work New Japan quite a bit. So it's like, if you're going to be disruptive in the way that your schedule goes, sometimes that can make booking just a little bit tricky. So I think it's important that he still is regarded as, like, he's always the guy that, like, the champion loses to, or you beat on your way to the champion, it feels like. I want him to have something to sink his teeth into in this company, because I just think the world of Lance Archer. And the Righteous are incredible. The Righteous are incredible. I have so much love for Vincent and Dutch. And this match was fun. This match was really fun. This John Cruz guy, I can't put my finger on it, but he reminds me of someone, I don't know. He reminds me of someone that I just feel like he reminds me of someone Nyla Rose would have a huge problem with. That's how I feel. I don't know why. It's just like giving that. It's just giving vibes that he is reminiscent of someone that Nyla Rose just like would hate. But obviously that's not the case. That's clearly just me just like feeling things out. But it's him and GPA and Ren Jones. This was decent. This was another kind of pseudo squash. this is probably how, when you have Lance Archer and Dutch on the same team, they should be pretty dominant wins. I love Vincent. I talked about this a little bit with Alex Pulaski on Select. There's something really cool about how many times their vignettes, they're dressed in white, where everybody goes so dark and creepy with the spooky stuff. But they have like this whole, Vincent has this hippie thing with him, and they wear white so often that it's like such a different thing in the space. And it kind of sets them apart from being that blue collar Texas Chainsaw Massacre team. It feels like something very different, and I love that. And then Lance Archer doesn't feel that way at all, but still totally makes sense with them somehow, in my opinion. I love it because he's the murder hawk, right? Like, that's just fun to me. But Vincent and GPA kind of kicked things off in this. This was fun, but you get a really nice spot in here with Archer no-selling some chops, which, like, Lance Archer is allowed to no-sell some chops. He has the right to do that, and he lands a beautiful full Nelson slam on Jones. But this ends with Vincent hitting the orange sunshine, Archer grabbing GPA for the blackout, and then throwing GPA onto Cruz. Dutch standing on the men, getting the pin. So I also love how much tandem offense there were. Like, not tandem tag offense and another guy, like the three of them work together really well. And Butch and Lance Archer feel so different to me. I have no problem with like multiple big men being in this. So I really enjoy this. I just hope that we start to get some stakes, and I hope that we get some trios facing trios that aren't just three guys thrown together, because I want to be in suspense about the endings of things. But good stuff here. I think the world of all these guys, and I was happy to see it. Another quick women's match, women and they, I should say, I should be more clear, Abadon and Nova. So you have the dead zombie gal and an exploding star. Who's going to get the better of that? But this was quick. This was fun. Nice to see Abadon also getting some consistency. I talked about that with Anna Jay before. Abadon doing an incredible amount of work on their conditioning as well. It shows up. They look great. They really, I think, have found a way to match character with being able to make a realistic wrestling match kind of click in, even though that wasn't the case here. We've just been seeing some progress in that regard. But you have Nova getting the drop on Abadon, hitting a bulldog and a cover, Abadon kicking out, and you get a reverse bulldog in this. A Meteora from Abadon, followed up with a Senton and the Black Dahlia. And that was it. So some early offense from Nova, Abadon taking control and taking the rest of it home. And a lot of screaming, like a whole lot of screaming. Because, look, I can't relate to that. I am alive. I'm a fully alive gal, which is neat for me. I don't know, like maybe I had a past life or two. I don't know. But, like, I don't relate so much to Abadon, though I appreciate Abadon. But I'm just, like, alive, chilling, doing wrestling podcasts. Not like not so much a dead gal that's alive. So I can't relate to her struggle. But I'm sure if I could, I would also be screaming a bunch. That's just the way it goes. Backstage, we get Johnny and Taya, who are there for the third time. We saw a lot of reoccurrences this week, both at AEW and on the ROH side. AEW saw a ton of Don Callis yesterday, right? Like, it was a lot of the same people showing up a lot on the episode. Whether that's your taste or not, that's up to you. But we did get a lot of Johnny and Taya, and they're such veteran presences as well that I feel like you need me for 3 segments, I can show up for 3 segments, and I can make them all different and entertaining and whatever. Like, I appreciate that about them and the quality of the work that they do. But they're there to talk about their hit web series, Johnny Loves Taya, and Aaron Solo comes up into the picture. Very nice to see the Nightmare Factory faction starting to get some more reps here as well. They kind of just disappeared. Nice to see them around. And he says that he thinks he should be featured on the next season of the show. And Johnny was like, you didn't even retweet our links. And then Taya's like, well, hold on. Yes, he did, which cracked me up. He was like, you didn't even give us the social buzz, and now you want to be on the show. Absolutely cracked me up. Loved that there. They basically say he doesn't have the cachet, and he says next week he's going to prove they're TV ready. So again, nice to have some more stuff continuously building into next week. I like the work that Johnny's been doing. I love the work that Taya's been doing. Some good stuff, and I think there's a lot that Aaron Solo in particular, just from having seen him in the ring, can learn with Johnny. Like, I think there's a lot of benefit to them having an in-ring match or maybe a continued relationship there. Guys, we're going to bring on Cresta and Joel in just a moment. We're so happy to bring the TNA Post Show back on the other side of this. We were all off for 2 weeks. I'm very excited that they're back after what was a really strong pay-per-view for them. We're still going to talk about this main event here, but if you had any more super chats that you wanted to get in, you could do so, just like Luis did, saying, sending some love to Kate also. So complain that ROH is weird again. That the IWGP Global Champ lost to Eddie Edwards. At least we get Beast Mortos. Yes, we can talk about Beast Mortos. Your timing is excellent, Luis. It's weird because ROH was so lost and then made a ton of progress, and then we're seeing regression, but not of everything. Like, we do have some consistent storylines building a little bit, but you're also just saying random luchador versus someone who was backstage again, and that stuff sucks. Like, we don't need that. It was a tainted victory, Luis. I wonder who could be under that handle. Definitely not Joel, who saw the product. But let's talk about our main event before we bring them on here. Guys, any more super chats that you want to get in, feel free to. Also, a reminder to subscribe to FightfulSelect.com. There is contract news just coming all year. You want your Drew McIntyre updates? You want your Finn Balor news? Head over to FightfulSelect.com and subscribe. We had so many post shows over the past couple weeks. I don't even know what to tell you as far as like WrestleMania week hit. We had a ton of post shows, and then we had Collision and Rebellion and SmackDown and AEW. There's so much going on regular Fightful. You also get all those bonus episodes on Fightful Select as well. So head on over there and subscribe. But the Beast Mortos versus Blake Christian and AR Fox was such a fun combination of guys. And what's so interesting about this match to me is we talk about styles making matchups all the time, right? And I love that, and I appreciate that. This almost felt like these guys had the same style, but like subgenres within those styles, and that made for a lot of fun. Everybody could do cool athletic top rope stuff. Everybody could move really quick. Beast Mortos being a little bit more of the hard-hitting truck, but like Blake Christian is so quick, and AR Fox is so agile in the way that he delivers moves, like in all these really interesting ways, super hard hitting. And then you have the Beast Mortos, right? So, but obviously very familiar with working with high flyers and lucha guys. So this was super fun. They had such a fun mix in here. Mortos catching AR Fox in like this reverse driver and getting to keep his undefeated streak was so much fun here. My favorite spot in this match, and I know this is a weird one to pick, but like Mortos going for that standing grapevine submission looked so brutal on AR Fox. A great sell from him. And then just Christian going to break it up, I thought was really, really good stuff. But Blake Christian's quickness showing up a lot. And not just he works really fast, quickness of like how fast the moves happen and how clean the execution is. Very explosive offense in this. I thought this was a ton of fun. I thought this was an absolute blast. So very fun. It felt like a main event, even though the stakes weren't really there. But nice to see this. Nice to see AR Fox getting back in the mix. Nice to see Mortos here. Mortos getting some consistent wins on ROH, which is very nice. And Blake Christian, I hope they get him on a better track soon, because it kind of is like they call on him when they want to do something fun and flashy. Like, he is too great of a talent and merges his style with logical storytelling way too well to not utilize that guy to his maximum potential. But guys, that was our episode of ROH. I'll keep you posted on whatever our plan is going to be, whether we have a host next week, whether I'm going solo, whether we're bringing guests on. I'll let you know if I'm going to be solo Sokoa. Aaron Solo. Why am I saying solo Sokoa when we had one right on the program? I could have left it at that, but we're going to bring on the TNA crew back in action. We're so excited to have Cresta and Joel back. Joel, in a stunning upset as a Canadian, wearing a hockey, it looks like. My God.
I mean, I am Canadian.
That's wild. I did not know Canadians do anything about hockey.
Yeah, once in a while we have a hockey thing going. Once in a while.
Once in a while. I just didn't know. Didn't know that happened up there. And the beautiful Cresta. My goodness, how you doing, gorgeous?
I broke my headphones, so we're gonna be toggling this microphone mute button all night. I was supposed to do something with Lyric today, but she had technical difficulties, and what was supposed to be space buttons got out of hand. So I'm giving you a Buffon realness.
I kind of love it. It was medium. Like as a standalone episode, it was all right. There's some good stories, but we have some familiar complaints kind of sneaking back in the fold. We did get our tag champions around, which never happened, so that was refreshing. But I'm loving this like 60s bouffant, but also like sexy Medusa thing going on. I'm in on the hair that is happening with Cresta right now.
There's a joke here about turning men into stone and being hard, but far be it for me to say it.
Oh man, if only we had Blue Chew as a sponsor for this episode, I would have just been right there. But guys, I'm going to throw it over to Joel and Cresta. We're so excited to be back in action after the past couple of weeks. We thank you for your patience as we work through everything. But coming off a hot pay-per-view is TNA, so I'm going to throw it on over to them. Thank you guys so much.
Coming off a hot pay-per-view.
Hot pay.
You're a real one.
And then doing a special on Friday next week.
Oh my gosh.
Bro, and the crazy part about that, my birthday is Thursday. I'm being a little bit delusional, and if you hear me, TNA, it'd be cute if you gave me some birthday tickets because I think I might drive upstate. Go see a wrestling show for my birthday.
I can get you tickets. It's not it's not hard to procure.
It's true. It's true. I think we could get you to stumble into some tickets if you really wanted to go. But happy birthday.
Thank you. Joel said we'll take next week off, but I think next week I'm going to be Sean Ross Sapp drunk on. I'm kidding. I'm not going to do that. I'm a professional.
Well, Sean ain't never been drunk on anything.
I'll just do it myself, if anything else. I'm telling you to take the night off.
No, I want to show up here and be the absolute worst. And if you guys want to help me be the worst, go ahead and send a super chat and humper chat so I can get a mustache. I want to come back with Mr. Monopoly. It's been too long.
She could have said, drop it in my Venmo, but she said a super chat because she is a team player. But I'm going to get out
I take Venmo too. Listen, Benihana's is my favorite place.
Hey, all right. All right. Not bad about that. Not mad about that. But have so much fun with the post show. I'm going to get out of here. Very happy to have you guys back. Very nice to be back. Thank you for your patience and tuning back in. Wonderful people. We appreciate you.
Yes, sir.
Bye.
See you, Kate.
See you, Kate. Oh, she's gone already. Joel, it's been, I feel like a month.
Yeah, it's been about 3 weeks. But we're back.
We are back. The group, the town, the homies are back in action. Mania and what I just come from? Dynasty, Beans, Rice, Jesus Christ. So much wrestling. And seeing the announcement, Mike Santana, Sammy Callihan, Matt Hardy. Wrestling, we're eating good. I'm so hungry, but yet I'm so full.
I am so full. So full. And Under Siege is next Friday.
You know what I meant to say. I've been saying Rebellion, Under Siege. There's a lot of wrestling. There's a lot of wrestling.
There is plenty of wrestling. Are we going to talk about it? Shall we?
Yes. Always going to ask Joel, how are you? You're my favorite. And I want everyone to tell Joel that he's your favorite in chat too.
I'm here. I'm clear. I'm good. How are you, Cresta?
I am okay. If I may humble brag just a bit, going to Dynasty was really cool because I know this sounds so corny and again, humble bragging, but somebody really almost got into a car accident to yell out the side of their car, "Are you Cresta Star?" And I was like, ah! I am. It was me. So whoever you were, please drive safely. But you made my night.
I love it. I love it. Someone in the chat asking if I'm a Ducks fan. Yes, I am a Ducks fan since inception. This is an original jersey. I've got about 6 more from throughout the years. I'm a Ducks fan. I'm a Sens fan. I grew up in Ottawa, so there you go. All right, shall we?
Let's do it. Honk, honk.
Let's do it for real. And a 1 and a 2. Hello, friends. We're back again. It's Fightful.com, and it's time for your TNA Impact post show. I am at Joel Pearl. We're back. we kind of went away for a few weeks, but we're back. And if you followed us to Rebellion, well, Steven Jensen and I did a post show, and we haven't seen Cresta Star in a little while because she got taken into the Dark Realm, but she's back. She is now known as Cresta Moon. Nope, I got nothing. Cresta Star's back. How you doing?
My full name is Crestalis Markan Starsguard.
Chat,
I'm doing well. That's my shoot name.
Chat, we can never leave you. Friends, we could never leave you. It's been a few weeks. We're not done with TNA. We were never done with TNA. I think those of you who have followed me around here, or maybe all you watches me on the TNA Post Show, maybe don't watch In the Weeds. Maybe you didn't see the Rebellion Post Show, but my dad passed away. It was Thursday, the 11th was when I had to go home, and he passed overnight. So this isn't a feel bad for me thing. This is a long time coming. I don't want to get into it, but long story short, we were off for a few weeks, and I came back for Rebellion. Happy to be back. Missed everyone dearly. We are not gone. We are here. We're clear, and I'm exhausted.
I mean, much like TNA, y'all can't get rid of us, baby. We like cockroaches. You can't get rid of us. We love this shit. We love Joe Pearl. And when they were back for Under Siege, I was literally out in St. Louis, and my hotel internet said, "You're not streaming nothing, girl. You're doing nothing." So here we are. The band's back together.
I could have told you that was going to happen, but you want to know how much we love this, how much we love TNA? Macklin today. Steve Macklin joined myself, Jeremy Lambert, and Sean Ross Sapp for a live interview. It's available at youtube.com/Fightful or on all of your platforms for podcasts. We did about 30 minutes with him. He talked about his new TNA contract. Broke that news with us. It's official. Yes, people are saying, "Oh, but at Rebellion, he, came out and said he signed a new deal." No, he didn't sign it. We're talking semantics here. So no, now he has signed it, and he broke that news to us. But yes, we did that earlier today. If you haven't watched the video yet, go ahead, watch it. Leave a thumbs up on this video. Subscribe to us here, youtube.com/Fightful. We'll talk about Fightful Select in a little bit. But otherwise, we got an Impact to talk about. April 25th. This was a show. This was a show. Your overall thoughts, Cresta Star?
It has been a while since I have watched TNA anything because of life and just being away, being very heavy on WWE and AEW events. I'm still in my wrestling honeymoon phase. I thoroughly enjoyed this. Again, Mike Santana being back. Yes, love it. Macklin re-signing. I actually love that. I think that Macklin has a lot more story to tell. Glad he's here. Broken Matt Hardy. Excuse me.
Unexpected.
I'm not mad. I'm always about peace, love, and if this is the key to AEW and TNA working together again, I don't think. But if it is, I'll take it any way I can because I think TNA is a fantastic product overall. And not a lot of new signings. Sammy Callihan coming back, good. I'm here for it. I am here for it. What did you think overall?
One thing I'm going to say to you is that, so the Matt Hardy thing. So we had John Alba at the top of the Rebellion post show, and he had said he was kayfabe through the whole way. He didn't know that it was happening. We got his immediate reactions from John Alba. By the way, those who don't know, John Alba hosts the podcast with Matt Hardy, The Extreme Life of Matt Hardy. So we were able to get John's immediate reaction to everything. And John put it simply, this is a guy who has so much to give to the wrestling business, both beyond the camera and in front of it. So there is a good opportunity to work with Broken Matt. Is this going to be a premier guy that you rock with for the next 2.5 years? No, it's not. This is a guy who comes in, has history in TNA, wants a world title shot, wants to work his way through it, and he's going to do this. He's going to play the hits, and that's okay. I think a lot of the people who are coming at TNA for bringing him in, or it's overblown. And I think that if he's going to add to the product, then that's great. There's a good core there. There are a lot of people there. A lot of people are signing back with TNA. They're in a bit of a state of flux, and they're starting to kind of level out, which is good. But the Matt Hardy stuff was really interesting to me. Now, what I was going to say is that Matt Hardy is probably not going to be the bridge to AEW. It might actually be the guy who was part of the main event tonight at the very end. And I'm talking about Ryan Nemeth. We'll talk about that in a little bit. because he was around
That's
all
not a
week.
bad shout. That's not a bad shout at all.
We're going to talk about that and a whole lot more. Let's open up the show. Nick Nemeth comes out, says he failed. He's a big old failure. He doesn't know what to do next. He doesn't know how. He just wants the title shot, but you don't know how to get it again. And then out comes Broken Matt Hardy, which was just very strange. He comes out and he says he had a premonition. He would come out after the world title match at Rebellion. The lights would come on and he would face off with the world champion. He hoped it would be Nick Nemeth, but instead it was Moose. And then they replay the finish. They talk about it was a little strange that Nick Nemeth's arm was kind of taken off the mat. And then Matt said, I want the world champion. One day it'll be you, Nick Nemeth, but right now it's Moose. But when I win that world title, you will get the first crack at it. And then the system comes out. Moose makes a football joke as he does. And then Hardy's like, no, you don't just get a title match. You got to get through it. And then Nick Nemeth is just like, fine, we'll take you all on in the system. And then Edward says, no, you came to TNA because you want to be the next Kurt Angle, and you're not good enough to be the next Eric Angle, which fantastic shout. Love that. So Nemeth challenges Edward.
Who was Eric Angle? Because I misunderstood that joke.
Kurt's shoot brother Eric, who was never as good a wrestler as Kurt Angle, and other things we won't get into on the program.
Oh, kind of like Craig Christ. You're Jesus Christ's brother, but no one cares because you're Craig Christ. Got it.
So that's a Family Guy reference, isn't it?
No, there's a comedian who sings songs, and he wrote a song called "I'm fucking Craig Christ." Nobody cares for Craig Christ. I forgot his name, but I will DM it to you. I think you will enjoy his yucks.
I'm sure that I will. Hey, by the way, speaking of yucks, if you haven't already, send in your super chats and email, get your question statement around the air, or send us a yuck over at humperchats.com. Cresta Star, you want to tell them how?
I would love to. Ladies and gentlemen, you take your thumbs or your fingers and you type in humperchats.com. Any question or comment, we'll get it read on air with any dollar amount. It keeps the lights on. We get to keep a little bit more. Humperchats.com. You could even be like, hey, Joel, why? And we'll read it and we'll thank you. Thank you. Humperchats.com.
That is accurate. Those are things that I will do. Ali's backstage. It's the ballot box battle. No, it's not an actual match. It's just a bunch of people stuffing ballots into a box. And his whole thing is, I'm making the X Division great again. By the way, if you haven't yet, check out my interview with Mustafa Ali. It's myself, Jeremy Lambert, Sean Ross Sapp was there. Sean just made a real dick of himself in that interview. But anyway, Ali's there. We had a very good conversation with him. Hotch asked if someone can be number one contender to their own title. And then when Santino says no, he's like, okay, I need a new ballot. Hotch being an idiot. It was very funny. Jordan Grace drops your ballot and says, I want to speak to Santino in private. Good. Wonderful. And then Jordan Grace backstage says, I spoke to Santino. My match against Miyu Yamashita next week is for the Knockouts World Championship. And she also mentioned that PCO was on standby for Jordan for the match at Rebellion, which I guess ties things a little bit together for what will be happening at Under Siege. What did you think of Jordan Grace's little tidbit there about PCO being part of that match as planned?
I mean, it makes sense if you consider the shenanigans that stuff. First of all, Edge's bitch. You already knew he's gonna have the shenanigans. So having someone like PCO on deck who can't die, especially if you guys had Kaun, who was gonna be for the shenanigans as well, it makes sense. Also, as the kids would say, hot stop glazing. If this is what's gonna turn Hotch face eventually, because he's gonna turn on Ali, but like, Jesus, have some dignity. Have some dignity, Hotch. Like a modicum. I mean, it's perfect for the character, but damn. I'm sorry, just dead. When he said, can you be number one contender to your own thing? I was like, yo, bro, at least put your own name and try.
No, man, they're rocking with those guys. They're rocking with Mustafa Ali. It's fantastic.
I love it. They're good hands. I love that Grace is putting up her title as well. I'm not familiar with her opponent, but I cannot wait because I have to say, across wrestling as a whole, the Joshi girls I'm getting introduced to, these girls slap each other, and I'm excited.
Yeah, I can tell you, everyone I spoke to who watched that Miyu Yamashita versus Jordan Grace match, they said it delivered. They said it was a lot of fun. The stuff next week, all the matches that have been announced, they all delivered in one way, shape, or form. Not that tonight's didn't. It was just a very different kind of show coming out of Rebellion. It's a very quick reset and they do this way more often than they should, does TNA, where they do a show, a big pay-per-view, and then 2 weeks later you got another special. And that stuff just bugs the shit out of me.
It does to me as well, because sometimes I feel like, and this is just my 2 cents, and y'all know I hate to complain about wrestling because I'm still like very much in love with it, but I feel like there could be some time to let it breathe. It's okay to let a storyline breathe. And on the one hand, I'm grateful I get to work. I love to work. But at the same time, it's like, I don't think after just having the last pay-per-view, we need one in 2 weeks. And it doesn't happen every month, but when it does, it's like, bro, like, I kind of feel like the thing in between the big one doesn't matter because it's kind of a forlorn conclusion unless you're in the X division or the Knockouts tag division. Then it's kind of like, wow, God, you know, and I don't like that. You know what I mean?
It's a really weird situation too, because when we run down parts of the card for Under Siege, you'll see it's a very unimportant show in terms of title matches. It's going to be more of a storyline driven show, which I don't hate. It's just they tape two shows in one night in Vegas, and now they're resetting again, going to Albany and doing Under Siege. It's just, again, it's always the scheduling that makes things weird with TNA, and that's kind of a downfall for me.
Get your money, honey, but I don't know about anything else. You know what I mean? Like, the upside is get your money, get these wrestlers getting their work, but on the upside, it's like, darn, that's a lot of pay-per-views. Darn.
Yeah, well, you know what? They tied in well because they do the special, and then the next night they tape TV, and then sometimes they do 2 nights of TV taping in a weekend. Like they have a plan. It's just doing the 2 weeks later thing that sometimes gets you lost in the mix.
Yeah, I agree with that. Again, and I will go back to saying it doesn't need to happen. It doesn't happen every month, but I think that to do something like that, then I don't know. I feel like maybe it should be like a runoff if there's like a blood feud, or like in the case of Nick Nemeth specifically, the last match was Under Siege, right? Or am I bugging? That's the one coming up.
Under Siege is coming up next Friday. Rebellion was the pay-per-view we just had.
So let's take Rebellion, for example. If I'm Nick Nemeth and I have my shoulders up, or I'm in a match where I'm Eric Young and Kaz, I wouldn't mind having another runoff pay-per-view like Under Siege, because to me that could be a blood feud. But some of the other matches you're adding, and it's kind of like, okay, I know this isn't going to change hands. I know, like, it could be a good story driven, like you said, but I want it to really be like a blood feud, you know, like a Hell in a Cell. Or a Hell in a PCO. Monsters Ball. There we go. Monsters Ball.
Well, we just did Full Metal Mayhem. Easy for me to say. So
when has that stopped? I've seen a man die on TNA. I just had that stop. Where's Raven?
Don't worry. That same guy decided to almost cut off his own ear at the last pay-per-view. So don't worry. Eric Young is...
'Tis but a flesh wound.
Yeah. Well, he still made his presence known tonight. By the way, later in the night, Steph DeLander and Kaun cut a promo. Steph DeLander said at Rebellion it was the Las Vegas screw job. Says she's also always ready. That's in reference to Matt Cardona, who's injured, and we hope he gets well soon. But he's not part of this story anymore. So Kaun was inserted. Starting to feel like it was supposed to be PCO and Cardona along with Jordan Grace and SDL, which... that would have been really fun. Kaun and PCO have been doing this thing back and forth for long enough that like you can make it work. But Cardona was absolutely the guy who was supposed to be part of this, and it would have been a lot more fun. Instead, Steph DeLander challenges Grace and PCO to a tag match versus her and Kaun at Under Siege. So Knockouts title won't be on the line. The world title, the TNA Knockouts World, the TNA Knockouts World title, the world title, and the TNA World Tag Team titles so far will not be on the line at Under Siege. They're all tied up in other matches.
I gotta tell you, I'm excited for this match because this match is free range meat. There's all types of meat in this match. Yo, I know this is probably no one's match of the night, but mine.
Please go back and watch the Rebellion match, and you'll know why it's not many people's match of the night. Just the way that it played out. I'm going to go to the super chat right now from Jana, who sent in. Do you think the Knockouts division is the weakest it's ever been? Didn't like how the men hijacked the match at Rebellion since the women's time is valuable. Also, don't want Alex or Jake to lose another match now. So that's in reference to Hammerstone and Jake something. They also have a match coming up at Under Siege, which we'll get to that a little bit later. I think it's an interesting point. But the knockouts division right now, I kind of agree. It's not as strong as it's been in the past. And Jensen and I both said on the post show, it did feel like the men just kind of hijacked the match. It was secondary to the match between Steph DeLander and Jordan Grace. Now, it feels like you're going to turn it into something, but it's still not going to be a knockouts feud. It's going to be a knockouts plus others feud.
I agree. I've also felt this way about the knockouts division. I think maybe a couple of shows ago I had mentioned this as well, saying like there are so many women that your knockouts division shouldn't be Franken team, your champions, Decay. And I mean, that's really what it is. And you broke up MK Ultra, and now Masha's tagging with Alicia. What was the point of that? I think Masha should be a single star. I think she has the stuff. I think what her and Killer Kelly did together was amazing. And I think it did wonders for Killer Kelly. And I think Killer Kelly can also be a single star, but they had magic together. I agree. I don't like being a negative Nancy, but I'm gonna do it. There's no one in their knockouts women's tag division. There's Spitfire, a Franken team, and Decay. And it's kind of frustrating because I don't want a place like Impact that is very well known. I mean, TNA, that's very well known for their knockouts division, very well known for putting the women over. And I know you've got a good roster. It's kind of like, what are we doing? I don't mind a big, meaty men slapping meat, big, meaty women slapping meat match, but let's not lose what, the knockouts division is supposed to be. I completely agree with that.
Yeah. And they also, Giselle Shaw has been out for a little bit. She, I think, had an injury. She's now cleared, waiting for her to merge back into traffic, as it were. So there's room for her. I just don't know what comes next in the knockouts division. So
there's Savannah Evans, there's Tasha Steeles, you're doing stuff with Xia Brookside, Ash by Elegance. Oh, you just lost Deonna Purrazzo. What? How tragic!
Well, they didn't really. Well, they lost her, but at the same time, she was ready to move on.
I know, but still, I'm a stan, and I for me, Deonna Purrazzo versus Jordan Grace is a fight forever situation. But I can understand how they would want to move on from each other. And I'm trying to think of who else you have that you can build up, who may be a little newer, who maybe hasn't been seen. But all I could think of is kind of like the X Division men, if I'm being honest, like a Kevin Knight.
This is interesting because the X Division, I think, is about to become very strong, which is something that Ali is, going to lead the charge for. And that's something that he's going to be working through. But there are people like Leon Slater. There is Zachary Wentz. Basically, all three Rascals right now, individually or together, can be major X Division players and have been in the past. There is room in the X Division. Jake Something's another one. Hammerstone could enter the X Division. It wouldn't be the first time a big meaty dude wins the X Division.
If Hammerstone enters the X Division, Ali is literally going to lose his shit.
That's fine. That's okay. And the idea here just becomes that Hammerstone wins and then catches an option C. He basically becomes Brian Cage 2.0.
All right. I love Brian Cage.
That's not a dig at Brian Cage. That was what Cage did in the late 2010s. He became the X Division champion and he cashed in option C.
I take it back. My apologies. I thought we were cooking. I love Brian Cage. Brian Cage is one of the safest big guy wrestlers that I've ever seen. He big meaty. That's a meaty boy. That meat.
Regardless, the knockouts division does need some work and some improvement. There's one name that doesn't get bandied about very often because they're in a tag team, and that's Decay. And I wouldn't mind seeing Havoc getting seconded by Rosemary as like an ultimate killer. I wouldn't mind seeing her get an opportunity at the knockouts division and at the knockouts championship. She was a knockouts. I don't know if she was a champion, but I think she was. But either way, she's been part of that knockouts division for a while, and she could have that run. She's just another person on that list.
I mean, we could even take it one step further and have. Hold on, I got a burp, and I don't want to be rude.
That's the best part. That's what I'm here for.
You gotta pay extra for that. I'm thinking even if you have Havoc be your Knockouts Women's Champion, or just have her in the mix. I'm going to go back to Killer Kelly. What is Killer Kelly doing right now? Killer Kelly would slot perfectly into Decay. After the loss of Masha, she goes deeper into I'm Feeling Crazy, and that would be perfect for them, in my opinion. So you have another version of the Knockouts, and you've got the knockout tag team, and you've got a knockout contender, and Rosemary or Killer Kelly. Like, it's tornado tag, New Day rules sort of situation you could totally do there.
I just saw something that's gonna change my entire conversation from earlier. We'll get there. Yeah, I'm ready to move on this. The Killer Kelly, she is on a break though. That was always part of the plan. It's not a rumor. She is doing movie stuff with someone else who works with TNA, but that's kind of where they're at with Killer Kelly right now.
Okay.
She will be back. Maybe even at Slammiversary. Who knows? Who knows? Santana defeats Myron Reed. There's some really good stuff in this match. Go watch it. The in and out lung blower that Reed does looks great. Myron Reed is continuing to make the case to continue to come back to TNA every single time, and I love it. Santana looks great. It's his second match back in the company, his first on Impact as a single star. I do have one issue with Santana, and that is the rolling buck 50 that he does. I think it's a really good, solid move. It's the setup. It's clunky because it takes time. He's got to look back. He's got to make sure until he can do it without looking and his opponent is in position. It's going to take time, but that's just something I notice that is always at play. It happened in the Macklin match too. He had to look back and make sure that he was in spot. Same thing happened with Myron Reed tonight on the show. Spin the block gets the win for Santana, but like I said, Myron Reed continues to look solid in TNA. Macklin comes out after the match. He says to the Rascals, go take out Santana. They tease it, and then they all walk away because the Rascals don't like Macklin. We know this already. What are we doing? But it feels like there might be a gimmick match for Macklin and Santana down the line. What do you think of this match and this little tease with Macklin and the Rascals and more Santana?
I'm going to start backwards. That's what you get, Macklin, because you were rude to the Rascals. And why would you think they would help you? They may be their holiday may have been Snoop Dogg and RVD's birthday, but they don't forget. So I'm not helping you. I think that the rolling buck 50, maybe the setup is clunky because Mike Santana is mad tall. Like, after seeing him at House of Glory, that's a tall brother. So I would understand too, like, let me make sure I'm not gonna hit this man with my shoulder because that man's like 8 feet tall. Like, I'm dragging it, but that's a tall man. So that would just be my 2 cents on it. But I can see where you're coming from. I just think it's because he's too tall, Paul. The match itself, Myron Reed looked great, but I couldn't tell you what happened. This match was over to me. This was a Santana showcase, and I feel like that's what it should have been. This was a fine match. It was really about the end, and I can't wait to see, knowing that Macklin has re-signed, I can't wait to see what him and Santana are going to do. I've seen Santana in House of Glory recently a bunch of times, and he's been tearing it up. So him and Macklin, I think, are going to have great chemistry. I didn't see the last pay-per-view, so please, guys, don't cook me.
They have great chemistry. They continue to. Santana said very, very kind and positive words about his match with Macklin and Macklin as well. Macklin reciprocated today during his interview with myself, Sean Ross Sapp, and Jeremy Lambert. So it's all there. Go watch the interview and check out just the notes from Santana's interview that he did recently about that. Later on, speaking of Macklin, he confronts Frankie Kazarian, says he's got a proposition for him. He says, you don't like EY, you don't like Josh Alexander, and we got problems, and so does Santana with Macklin. So Kazarian is like, hey, we'll call it a wash your back so you don't stab mine, a quick partnership, Macklin and Kazarian. And while they don't like each other, they both want to use each other to get ahead. What do you think of this idea of Macklin and Frankie Kazarian potentially working together? Because we'll get to what happens with Kazarian to get to this point.
Much like Bully Ray, it's a countdown to who gonna stab who in the back first. I don't know. I can't trust. Honestly, Frankie Kazarian is such a heel, and I hate that he's dressing like a 2007 uncle. I hate it. He's missing a Von Dutch hat at this point. I really hate it, but it's great heel work. It is top tier heel work. I could see it working for a while until they got to tag each other in and out. And that might be another match at Under Siege. And if not Under Siege, the next one. It's fine.
It's fine.
I did. It's fine.
It's fine. So how did we get here? Josh Alexander cuts a promo. He says he's happy to be here. He's the last man standing. He's been a lot of things, but he's ready to be called TNA World Champion again. And then out comes Frankie Kazarian. He's like, hey, I survived Full Metal Mayhem. I beat a former World Heavyweight Champion in Eric Young. I deserve a title shot. So the two of them, Jack and Josh, challenges Kazarian to number one contendership match. Kazarian is like, nah, I can't. I'm all beat up. Can't wrestle tonight. LOL, bye-bye. And Josh says, fine, I'll just be number one contender. Kazarian says, that doesn't work for me, brother, which is fantastic.
Bro, when he said that, that literally popped me in real life. Sometimes I feel like, again, I don't care if y'all call me a Mark. My middle name is Mark Ann Star. I don't care. But, bro, when they say that pops the boys in the back, it's me. I'm the boys in the back.
It's very funny, very silly. Referee Daniel Spencer comes out, says the match is happening now. They're going to do it in their street clothes. Then they say it's not officially a number one contendership match. So I think to myself, well, why are we doing the match? Either way, Josh gets busted open and behind the ear again. Kazarian hits that chicken wing, gets turned into an ankle lock, which was really good. And then that becomes a package pin. Really good counters in this match. These two men work very well together. But what does it? Kazarian tries to use the chair. The referee grabs it. So instead, Kazarian grabs a chain. Out comes Eric Young with his head wrapped up in bandages. And he comes out, takes that away. Kazarian fakes out EY. The referee is trying to figure out what's going on. And then Josh gets the last laugh because he hits an ankle lock, gets the win. Josh Alexander beats Frankie Kazarian. Your thoughts on all that?
Shout out to Frankie Kazarian doing the Eddie Guerrero without the chair. Like, you piece of crap. Eric Young gets ejected, but also not losing to the most devastating move in the game, the surprise roll-up next to the yam bag shuffle. Honestly, it was what it needed to be. I kind of don't understand if it wasn't going to be for the first number one contender. Why did we do it? I get it. He was talking crap, and we got to do something, but we could have did something else. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't hate it. It was a good match. It was a good match. It furthered the storyline, but did it? No. Did it?
I appreciate that while commentary says it's not officially a number one contendership match, they're making it sound like the winner gets high consideration for a title match. And on top of that, we now know that Under Siege, it's not going to be any of the world title's not on the line at Under Siege. So you could do it at Against All Odds in Chicago in May. No, God, is that June? June. And then July Slammiversary. So you could have Josh versus the world champion at Slammiversary. Big Canadian matchup. But we'll see. They're at least trying to set something up. I still think Kazarian's prime for a King of the Mountain match.
Yeah, I wouldn't hate it with this, especially with the King of TNA moniker he's got going on. And even if he takes it off of Moose, like I said, and like I've been saying, everyone hates the system so much that you'd even be like, you know what, Frankie Kazarian, you're annoying. But at least it's not on the system.
So here's an idea. One thing you could do is going into Slammiversary, Josh gets the number one contendership, wins it, has a match against Moose, wins the world title in Montreal at Slammiversary. Meanwhile, Kazarian wins a number one contendership King of the Mountain match. You can do Kazarian versus Josh again. They've been putting that over very hard. You've got Tom Hannafin saying at Overdrive, this was the best match I ever called, blah, blah, blah. Tonight's match was kind of official, but unofficial because of the street clothes. And it was very, last minute. So you're kind of protecting this match from happening. And it feels like the next time they want to run it, it's going to have the big stakes of a world title match. So you could run back Josh versus Kazarian later on after Slammiversary. And once both men kind of reposition themselves, maybe Josh is the champion, Kazarian as number one contender.
I will say TNA does have a very healthy main event scene, because while you're saying that, I'm like, that's cool for Kazarian, and I think Josh absolutely should go back to being world champion. But where does Macklin fall in this? Jake Something absolutely needs to be in the conversation. Alex Hammerstone needs to be in this conversation as well. Ali, I think eventually is going to option C it. In my mind, he's going to be like, I'm not fighting one of these big guys. You got me screwed up. I already did it once with something. I don't want to do it again. You know what I mean? So I think that they've got a great, healthy main main event scene, that the fact that we can come up with all of these different ideas, I want some of that, bring some of that love to the knockouts division. You know what I mean? I think that it's healthy because I like the idea of Cass, but I also want to see Josh versus Hammerstone or something versus Ali for the top. You know what I mean?
I do. And if you've got 6 guys going in a King of the Mountain match for a number 1 contendership, you've got Macklin, you've got Kazarian, you've got Hammerstone, you've got Jake something. You have people that can get into that match. And because it's number 1 contendership for the world title, it's big enough. Maybe Matt Hardy's part. I don't know if I want Matt Hardy part of that. But anyway, the point being, there's room for these guys because it's a loaded main event. It's a loaded world title roster.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Speaking of loaded, First Class with Bun B show up with Gia Miller on the stage. Everyone comes out for First Class. Gia Miller asks Rich Swann if his win was tainted given the outside interference, and Rich Swann's like, no, da. Then he say his name, and Joe Hendry teleports, and I think it's hilarious the way AJ Francis sells that as if he's the devil. And then Hendry's like, I lost, I'm hurt, my groin, I got an injury, I owe you an apology, I'm going to do it in the ring next week. And it's so awkward. They're just standing there while this upbeat Joe Hendry music plays, and they just look so dejected, and everyone's confused. I don't know if I have anything to add about this other than it was weird.
I want this to get over. I truly do, because I think that everyone should be given the opportunity to change. But this act is corny. I mean, this is the Acclaimed when they first came out levels of corny. And I'm trying. And I don't know how. To me, you've got all the pieces. You've got a Bard in Joe Hendry. You've got another Bard in AJ Francis. And you've got a really good wrestler in Rich Swann. I don't know what's not clicking, Steven. But this, I think, I don't care how many rappers you bring out. I don't want to see it. I really want to say something. I don't know what is not clicking, but something might change, because tonight my mind changed about Ash by Elegance. So again, I'm always willing to give it a chance, but I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it's me. Maybe I don't know wrestling. Maybe I'm a fraud. Maybe it's me.
The personal concierge comes out, and he's doing the thing again. And he introduces, for the first time ever, her 5th match. It's time for Ash. By Elegance versus Xia Brookside. Xia Brookside gets the win. Ash is mostly in control. And then Iceman slips Ash ring knucks. Not brass knucks, but ring knucks. The referee's like, nah, that's too bling for me. I can't let you use those. And then Xia rolls up Ash for the win. Ash has a tantrum in the middle of the ring, which I thought was hilarious. She loses finally. This was good in terms of not making Ash by Elegance so serious that she's got to be on this big win streak to go up against Jordan Grace, blah, 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 blah. Instead, we're actually going to build Ash as an actual wrestler who can lose a match and be a dumb heel. I liked it for what it was. Talk to me.
I have been down on Ash by Elegance for weeks. And this match, the gear was good. Let's start there. And she wrestled really stiff. Her pump kicks, I don't want to get kicked by that woman. This is like all she does is leg day. Her pump kicks are really nice. So Ash by Elegance, I see it's coming along. So kudos for you. Xia Brookside winning, though, that was hilarious. You shouldn't have lost to that. Like you said, this whole match, you were pretty dominant. What happened? Because you wanted to argue with the ref? You idiot. But no, this was a good match. I got to give Ash by Elegance her flowers. I did like the springboard backhand that she did on the apron. Not the apron, the ramp. I think that looks a lot more effective there than in the ring, if I'm being honest. So I like this. I like where it is going. Even I feel like George Iceman reeled back just a touch. Also, the brass knuckles, maybe it was just me and I was reading into it, but it was giving Infinity Gauntlet, and you're not sneaky.
You're right. And it was funny just because they're just this gaudy set of rings that would look like they were just glued together.
Like, bro, like it wasn't even trying to be sneaky. It was literally like the Captain Planet rings.
It's true. It was good stuff. And I like that Ash had a tantrum in the ring. She's freaking out. She's upset. And maybe this is going to turn into a you screwed me personal concierge. You did this. You screwed me out of this. So maybe he gets kicked to the curb. Maybe not. Maybe they're going to maybe they're going to figure it out and she'll lose another match down the line.
I don't think it's time yet to break them up. I think Ash is finally getting her sea legs. But I will say that there is a comparison between Ash by Elegance and oh my God, you just said her name earlier, Giselle Shaw, when she first was introduced. And we're finally getting on that pace where, okay, it's getting there. So maybe if she loses another 2-3 matches, now we start blaming George Iceman. However, I think she still needs George Iceman, if that makes sense.
That does make sense. We got a super chat from Alan Marks, by the way, saying this is for, well, just because. Keep on keeping on. Thank you, Alan. Appreciate you very much hanging out with us tonight. You can donate a super chat or a humper chat. Any amount, get your question or statement read on the air. The ballot box. Let's go back to the results. The winner is Trey Miguel. Suspiciously, he won by 60 votes. Leon Slater walks in.
Not even 60 guys back here.
Leon Slater is like, oh, bro, there weren't even 60 people back here. And then, thank you, by the way. That was my wonderful British accent.
Sorry.
It was great. You know what I really liked about this? I like that Leon Slater he says the line, and then Zachary Wentz immediately takes issue with it, stands up for his boy, and in the process sets up a potential match between these guys. I like that there were little things that played in with everyone who was in this segment. Ace Austin, it comes in second place by a fair amount. Ali steps in and there's been voter fraud. So I think no number one contender should be appointed. And then Santino Marella tells people to stop bickering. And he says, conventional wisdom states Ace versus Trey next week. Winner gets Ali at Under Siege. So X Division Championship will be on the line at Under Siege. And really, it doesn't matter if it's Ace Austin or Trey Miguel. That's going to be a great match for Mustafa Ali. What do you think of the ballot box segments in the end?
Honestly, this was peak jabroniism, and I loved it. I mean, at that point, I could have put my name in the ballot box. I low-key thought Jordan Grace put her name in the ballot box. I do enjoy how the Rascals, listen, Joel, I would lie for you. I would, if you, what's that place in Canada you said sucks? Windsor or
Hamilton?
Windsor?
Hamilton.
If somebody said, do you think Hamilton sucks? Never been there. And I know what I would say. All my homies hate Hamilton. Because that's how ride or die you need to be. And I like that it was probably one who was like, yo, don't worry about me just putting these ballots in the box. These are all different wrestlers. Mind your business. Mind your business. Mind your business. I respect it. A little surprised, though, that it wasn't a Hammerstone or I don't know. To me, it's a usual suspect. Not mad. It's going to be good, like you said. No matter who wins that match, we win that match.
Yeah, and they kind of already set up Hammerstone and Jake something for Under Siege, which, again, I like it. While I agreed with the super chat earlier that said, neither man should lose a match, this is one of those someone can lose and still look good. This is a match, just like Hammerstone and Josh in the first time they met. You can have multiple matches between these two. You can set up a rivalry between Jake Something and Hammerstone, and I think people would really enjoy it if the chemistry is there, because these are two big, strong-looking dudes, and I know someone sitting next to me who would absolutely love that. She's gesturing wildly to her nose as if she wants to snort it right now. Anyway, her name is Cresta Star. The point is, there is opportunity there. Someone can lose as long as they don't make them look stupid in the loss.
I'm gonna be that guy. I know we normally don't bring up stuff that ain't super chats, but there's a free out. There's a free out. All you're missing is Swinger. There's a free out. What has Johnny Swinger been doing? Let's say for kayfabe, because I don't know, that man could be injured. He could be taking time off. I hope Johnny Swinger comes back too. But what if Johnny Swinger comes back and he's super serious and is buff and jacked? I'd scream.
First of all, he was already jacked. Okay, let's just get that.
I'm sorry. My apologies. You're right.
Don't forget. He's always jacked, baby, always ready, just like Matt Cardona. But I hope Swinger comes back. I always love the man, fantastic. But I don't know if we'll see him anytime soon.
Can you imagine during that match, you just hear Swinger's music, and he's just like, "Hey, I heard that there was an invitation, and I wanted to get into this Ballot Box." They're like, "Yo, bro, that was last week. Get the hell out of here."
I was here in New York, Daddy, and I came to the show. I wanted to get in on the Ballot Box.
Hey, Daddy, I heard it on the internet. You know, you heard this thing on the internet? That's crazy. I saw the show last week on this thing called YouTube. I didn't pay $5, Daddy. It's a ripoff.
People would absolutely eat that up. Speaking of returns, Sammy Callihan defeats the Good Hands. Callihan immediately dropping Hotch in the opening moments. It was so good. The Good Hands they're great chicken shit heels, always. Hotch gets dropped again by Callihan mid-match. Cactus Driver 97. That's it. Sammy Callihan is back, and I'm wondering how you feel about that.
Not mad, but goddamn Good Hands all night tonight. Y'all just L after L after L after you voted for Ali. You didn't even vote for yourself. And then y'all got beat up by one guy who literally Sammy Callihan scared me. Y'all got beat up by one Sammy. Callihan can get beat up, but y'all lost to one Sammy Callihan. You know, it might be time to I don't know, maybe not good hands, some hands. just hands, you know. It might be time to rebrand.
Listen, with the elections coming up over you guys, they might just call themselves the Tiny Hands for Heat.
Please.
Did I strike a nerve? Under Siege is next Friday. We will have a post show, of course. Whether it's myself and someone else or solo, or if Cresta's here, it's her birthday. Let's give her the nights off, shall we? We'll see what she wants to do. The frozen face you're making was fantastic.
Honestly, it's the guttural tiny hands because as an American, I'm upside down just thinking about November. It's my birthday coming up. It's like, yeah, I'll be at the post show. You're gonna see me in the front row like this.
Well, one tag match that was added to the card is for the Knockouts tag team titles at Under Siege. It's going to be Spitfire versus Mashalicious is what I'm going to call them.
I don't understand. Why did we break up?
Kelly's on a break, so they're giving Mashalicious a chance.
As Mashalicious.
Mashalicious is what we'll call them, Mashalicious. And by the way, you know, just like Ross and Rachel, Masha and Kelly are on a break.
Okay. I will take that. But again, I go back to for all of that. I remember Jordan Grace and Masha Slamovich putting each other through doors. I need that again. And no disrespect to Alicia. She's on an amazing run. But not with no Masha Slam. Stop playing with my hands are up. I'm ready to fist fight.
Dude, there's part of me that thinks they're gonna give it to Mashalicious because they want everyone in the system to have a title.
That is too funny. However, I will rebuttal with Masha's not even in the system. And if you want to be a real piece of crap, give her the main title. Screw Jordan Grace. Don't be a coward. I don't even know who's in charge. I can't even say Scott D'Amore. So whoever's in charge, don't be a coward. Screw Jordan Grace. You have it set up there. You got Chris Delander. You've got Matt Cardona lurking, and you could literally screw Jordan Grace. I don't like it, but for all of that. But if you're not, then you have to make Masha a part of the system. Mashalicious. As I convinced you, said if you were suspicious. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, yeah, I was expecting you to do the whole thing. I'm kind of hoping
demonetized.
hard to do that in this case. I'm really hoping if anyone from TNA, if you're watching this, if you haven't started calling them Mashalicious, just start now.
It's free. Like, honestly, you can literally change your music to just the opening. It's it's Mashalicious.
I gotta stop clowning on these two. Speaking of the Edwards, is Edward Edwards defeats Nick Nemeth in our main event. Ryan Nemeth is at ringside as he was at Rebellion. Hot Young Briley, as he's known. And Lish keeps getting involved in front of Ryan Nemeth, which I like. And then Myers is causing a distraction. It's a back and forth match. It's a very simple but solid heel and babyface story, main event type of match for these two. I love that Eddie Edwards, I keep seeing him try to call spots while he's on the floor, and he just covers his face with his wrist just like this so that you don't hear him, and it's very funny. So Myers and Ryan Nemeth start mouthing off. The referee tries to break it up. He doesn't see Moose hit the ring and get Nick Nemeth, tag him with the TNA title. Edward Edwards hits a Boston knee party, gets the win. Post-match, this is where it gets interesting. Ryan's being held back as Nick is getting the chair wrapped around his neck, and Moose hits Nemeth with a chair that's with another chair. So Nemeth is basically taken out of this match. And my immediate suspicion is, oh, Ryan Nemeth is going to replace his brother at Under Siege. Nope. It's Matt Hardy. They've already announced it. Matt Hardy is going to team with Speedball Mountain to take on the System at Under Siege next Friday. So against all odds, it'll probably be Moose versus Matt Hardy, which is what I told y'all at Rebellion that we probably do.
Now, I don't dislike Moose. But while I was at Dynasty and I was talking to people about TNA, somebody was like, stop trying to make Moose a thing. And all in my mind, I'm thinking, it's like, damn, you're really going to have Moose beat up this old man. This is elder abuse. And that Hardy not that old. But honestly, he going to be broken for real. Moose going to spear that man out his boots. I also don't understand. And for this match in particular, yeah, Ryan Nemeth is there as a guest, but they're literally killing my brother. Like, they literally are pilmanizing my brother's neck, for the lack of a better word. And nobody gonna come out? Nobody. It's kind of like Honor No More. Everybody got a problem with the System until the System does some whack stuff. No, and then Speedball Mountain, by the time y'all came out, Nick Nemeth's neck is already broken. What is transpiring here? Did we not get the cue? Like, I don't understand. I don't know what's next for Nick Nemeth. Maybe his neck is broken and maybe he will join the broken universe. And I think that'd be interesting because I've never seen Nick Nemeth or Dolph Ziggler in a comedy role besides It Should Have Been Me, but I think that was supposed to be serious.
Someone who did get the memo, by the way.
Honestly, I saw that. Committing to the bit and I'll say this again, and I know this is the wrong show. That's what you get, Tony Khan, for giving us women's matches at 9:20 for months. That's what you get, Tony Khan, for saying we're going to get a meat division, and alas, we are all vegan. I've had it. It's funny. I'm sorry this happened to you, sir. I was sports entertained. I knew what was up when Scapegoat gave him that smile like the Eddie Kingston, I wouldn't hurt you. We're not going to jump you. Just come outside. Take off your jacket. We're not going to jump you.
Oh, God. Anyway, we expected it. By the way, FightfulSelect.com, we did report that TK was wearing the neck brace for the parking lot brawl that was taped earlier on Thursday. So there you go.
I love it. Committing to the bit.
Speaking of FightfulSelect.com, best $5 in the business. You get access to our Discord. You get access to all of the content. There's a free tier as well if you want. You can get injury news. You can get other news that's not paywall related stuff, announcements that are imminent, all that good stuff. Tons of content every single day. The Macklin re-signing deal, we had that up on FightfulSelect.com. Over on FightfulSelect.com, we had Steph DeLander's contract status after Rebellion. Go find out. I mean, I can tell you, she's still a free agent, but she's still working TNA, okay? So we have an interview with her dropping soon. Sean Ross Sapp did that. But yeah, Matt Hardy's going to team up with Speedball Mountain. That's the fun stuff. Under Siege is next Friday. We'll be back on. I'll be here on Thursday next week. Crest is going to go and have a birthday.
You know what? Honestly, truly, I'll probably just make plans for Friday and I'll probably be here because when you become 9,000 years old, there's only so many things you can do. And honestly, I'm going to want to watch wrestling anyway because I am a wrestling fan and I'm a loser.
I get it, you giant loser. I understand.
Me and the good hands got a lot in common. We're losers.
Okay, so we'll celebrate Cresta's birthday for our Under Siege post show. How about that? Okay. What else you
The
got?
pre-show to the post show, because I think I might try to go to Under Siege. I think I'm gonna talk to whoever I gotta talk to at Fightful. I think I'm gonna go just with my purple hair in the front and be like, make a sign.
I don't know where they're gonna put you, but we can get you there. How about that?
It doesn't matter. I'm making a sign.
Listen, the weirdest experience I ever had was TNA Impact at the time, inviting me and my entire family to go to Emergence.
That's cute though.
No, it was weird. It was me, it was my brother, it was his fiance, my mom, and my dad. My parents are not wrestling fans, but man, what an evening that was.
If I go, let's say in a perfect world, because I like to put things out into the universe. If I managed to go and I took my little brother, who's been a TNA fan since AJ Styles' hair was like this, my little brother would crit his pants. He would look at me and say, "Heck you, but you're the best sister ever."
You know what the weirdest part? Okay, sorry, I'm just thinking about this. The weirdest part of that experience for me wasn't my family being there. It was when I sat down with Kevin Knight and Bully Ray and had a full-on conversation while my family was like on the opposite side of me.
And it's crazy because I feel like if you don't know, you're like, wow, I'm so happy for my family member chatting it up with this random person.
Oh, they ain't got a clue. They had,
exactly.
and
if you know, it's like,
we're sitting in the back section in like this area that I wanted to be in the back section, and I was just like, we're just hanging out there, just schmoozing, and my family's just watching the show, and I'm just chatting with these people. It's just like, what are we doing here? This is weird. And I'm being asked, did you sing Joya? We walked in as the Joya stuff was starting, and I could feel my face just being like, how am I going to explain this shit?
you are a better person than I. I have indoctrinated every person who can hear the sound of my voice to wrestling. Some people will tell you everything there is to know about One Piece. I will tell you everything there is to know about wrestling. You can't even like, well, I used to watch Hulk Hogan. Yeah, you liked Hulk Hogan? Well, there's a guy named Brian Cage who looks a lot like him, and he's not a bigot. So let me introduce you to wrestling.
Just show them Hammerstone. Just show them Alexander Hammerstone.
Bro, I've got a million examples. I got there's Keith Lee, Hammerstone, Jake something, Jason Fatu. I got a that is somebody I indoctrinated. It was like, well, I like wrestling. I'm like, you like wrestling? Okay, let me tell you about Becky Lynch and how her nose got broken and how she stood at the top of the stairs. I was like, I don't care. And he was like, that's interesting. I don't want you to keep talking. Like, too late.
Anyway, as we start to go off the air and you're watching this after the fact, maybe leave a comment. Was the most embarrassing time you've ever had to tell your friends or family you're a wrestling fan? That wasn't even the worst for me, but go ahead, drop it in the comments. Cresta Star, what you got going on?
I will leave y'all with trying to explain to my grandma what scissor me daddy ass was. Tomorrow I will be on Lyrics Podcast. We're going to be talking about what happened at Dynasty. So please tune in. Check that out, Lyric Wrestling. My live streams have all but stopped because my muggle job has me in a chokehold. So you can catch me here every Thursday with Joel Pearl. Most likely tomorrow, not tomorrow, next week. Thursday, because it'll be my birthday. I'll be turning 4,877. Friday, we should be here for Under Siege, but if not, Saturday, I'll definitely be here for our Collision post show. The gang is not back all together. Iridian is a busy girl, just like Rick, but it'll be myself and Rick. And I'm excited to hang out with you guys. If that was a lot, please go ahead and follow me on Twitter, Cresta D Star. There's a link tree in my bio to all these beautiful podcasts, all these beautiful things. Joel Pearl, where can the lovely people find you?
Not hard to find. I am at Joel Pearl on all forms of social media. I get in the weeds with Jeremy Lambert over on our sister channel, Fightful Overbooked. That's youtube.com/Fightful Overbooked. We do that every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern till noon. I think Sean Ross Sapp is joining us for the next couple of shows for a mock draft that I'm just, it's going to happen. Okay. There's that. Cresta and I are back next week on Thursday. And then Friday, we'll figure it out. There will be an Under Siege post show where we talk about Matt Hardy pinning Moose and getting a world title shot at Against All Odds. Sorry, I didn't mean to do spoilers, but the show's live. So what are we doing here, right? Right?
You know what it's all. You know why you came here. You know what's up. Stop it.
Everyone's all like, I want the scoop. So here's your scoop. I just gave it to you.
Gave you a double chocolate mint scoop. Don't do that.
It was a freebie. Until then, ladies and gentlemen, friends beyond the binary,